how do you start your project PWA. Then I will show the different ways of customizations that are the basic ones, and how when to use what. And after this, we have a few changes in our project, and I can show you how to migrate from one PWA version to the other, and give a few hints in the end. So let's start with the initialization. Usually, when you start, at least if you do it in our CAS offering, you have a GitHub repo in the Azure DevOps, and have some PWA project repository. This is an empty Git repository. There are some different ways how to initialize this. One, for example, would be to import the repository, to import a different Git repository, and this could be done importing the GitHub repository of the PWA. The problem with this approach is if you do this, you get all our old branches and our in development branches and a lot of code that you don't need in your project. You can get access to this later on if you need it via a second remote to our GitHub repository, but you don't need it in your project when you set this up. So I would not start initializing a project with importing our whole GitHub repository, but doing it a bit different. And this is what I will show first. If you have, like I do, a folder, it's called project PWA, and there's nothing in it yet. And what we need to do is initialize it with git clone. I want only a single branch. And in this case, the master branch, because this one is the one where we have all our release tags included and all the commits that are that matter to a project. And oh wait, I need to change this. Branch, master branch. I don't want it to be the in the default origin, because this is then later on the Azure project of your project repository. So I add it as a different origin Intershop, and then I need the URL of our GitHub project. So I get here. And with that, I should be fine to initialize my folder with the Intershop PWA. Oh, this is done. And now I can open my Git here. And you see, I have the one branch, the master branch of the Intershop repository, where we have the 1.02 release already, and the 1.01 and the 1.00 release, and nothing else. So there is no distractions for this old or development stuff. For the presentation, since I also want to show you how to migrate within a project, I need an older version of the PWA, and so we will just start. First, I create a branch here for development. So this is now my project branch, and I will work from this point in time here. The first thing one has to do in a PWA project is to do npm install to get fetch all the dependencies, and to compile our lint rules, our lazy loading components, and all the other stuff that is necessary to have a working PWA. So I will have this be done in the background, and we can do some additional Git stuff to initialize the project repo. So the first thing is we have now the code that we will work with, and now we need to push it to this repository. Currently, this is empty, and there are some Git commands already that we need to set this default Git repo. I will just use this and add the origin remote to this project, and then I could do git push u origin all, but then I would also push the master from Intershop to this repository. So I will do it different. I just use part of this, and will be pushing only the develop branch. Oops. Let's see. Oh, this does not work as expected. Yeah, I have to call the branch right, then it would work. Yeah. Development. So okay. Yeah, looks better. So now I'm pushing this version, the 1.0.0 version, to my project repository. And in the background, I guess the npm install is still working. So this is done. You can have a look at this repository here and see that it's at the release 1.0.1.0, and we also see that there are no other branches here, so just the development branch. And this is probably the way it should be for the beginning. The branches will come in the project itself later on when you do the development, and for now, for this presentation, I'm developing on this development branch. So, and as we still wait for the npm install to finish, earlier we cannot do any of the schematics we have and initialize our project, so we can talk about the themes in our project, or the meaning of themes. So often you think only about styling changes in the theme, or a few functional changes. For the PWA, basically the whole project customization is the theme. Yeah. So if you have a project where you have one shop, you create a theme for this, and this theme contains all the styling changes, the code changes, and the functionality changes. And if you do a project that is a PWA project that is used for different shops or different brands in your company, then you can add different themes to the project configuration and work with the same base, but different styles and different functionality in the different themes. And what you basically have as options in this theming concept of the Intershop PWA, you can see in the environment configuration. Here you have we have two themes in the default setting. We have the default theme that is our B2C theme, and we have the blue theme for our B2B theme. And here you see you can configure which channel you work against. So for B2B we use the business channel, and for B2C a normal B2C channel. And then you can also configure the feature set according in the way you need it for your setup. And everything else that can be configured, you can see in the environment model TS. This is included here in the environment default in the configuration. And if I open this directly, you can see here in the environment model what the standards of our default configuration are, what is set to breakpoint with the languages or local maps and all this stuff, or cookie settings. And you can see what configuration parameters you also have here. And all this can be configured specifically for the blue or for the default theme differently. your project. No, those are the options. And basically, you have the default that comes from our PWA configuration. You have some theme-specific configurations like the feature set. And then you have here these overrides. And this is basically everything that comes from such a environment development TS, which is an additional configuration part where you can do configurations that are only used in your development environment. This is not committed to the Git repository, and so you can add your own ICM base URL or your own feature set that you want to test, or some specific configurations to tokens or whatever application or site you want to use. And it will not impact others in your team as long as they are done in this environment development. Yes, this is the basic idea of this.
But what produces the Intershop development? Yes.
This is something that is you don't have it in the beginning when you check out this project, but as soon as you run npm install, this file will be created. This is content you see here. This is demo content, and you can adapt it to your specific requirement. So this is, and I'm far enough in the npm install task so that this file was already there. So if you look for this in your checked out project, we will see it once we have done npm install. Anyways, if you have any questions that really fit to the context right now, I'm open to questions within the context, and we don't have to do it all at the end if I forget something or you didn't get it, what I was talking about. So now I have, I'm finished with npm install, so my project is ready to be worked with. And the next thing after this is to initialize it to be a custom project. For this, we have a script. We just need to run a node, schematics, and then customization, add is the script, and then we want to add a new brand, and this is our first brand, the project's main brand or whatever, and so we want to set it as a default brand, and we call it just brand. You probably have something better in your projects. I only have brand for now. So, and if I start this, the script will do a few changes that we can have a look at once it's done, that make the project, that configure the project in a way that you can do your customizations in a way that will not impact the standard code. So you won't get much migration problems if we change things in our standard code artifacts. So I guess it should be finished in a few seconds. What this script basically does, just for your understanding, it changes a few things in the project's settings. The first thing, one important thing, is it changes the prefix for Angular components and Angular directives from ISH, from our own prefix, to the custom prefix. So whenever you use any ng generate component or other Angular schematic or our own project schematics, and a component or a directive is generated, this custom prefix will be used and no longer ISH. And so you can distinguish your project, your components from ours. The other thing it does, it changes all the default configurations for the default theme to be the brand now as a default, and it will add the brand as an option at all. And here you see some other configurations for this brand theme. And here again, the brand. So this is what it does in the Angular JSON. One important thing is we have in the package JSON, we have an active themes switch where we can enable which themes are actually built at build time when we do production build. And there usually we have default in blue for our standard things, standard themes. And with the default flag here in our script, we remove everything that is there and add the new default in here, the brand theme. So it's always good if you have several themes that you want to set up in your project. It's good to do the default theme first, otherwise it will be overwritten. The others will be overwritten. So it's just to keep in mind. There are some TS-lint configuration changes to allow not only ISH as a selector, but also custom now, and something else here for the project structure patterns. We have a schema JSON that is adapted. That is a schema JSON for the override schematic. This we will see later on. One part of this schematic is that it will give us the options to decide for which theme we want to do the override. And for this, the new theme is added here. But one thing I would also do when initializing a new project, I would remove the blue and the default theme from this configuration, since you will probably not do any override for the default theme. So you don't need this option as a selection option anymore. I will show you when I get to this where they would have been or where they are no longer visible. Besides this, we have a new environment that is configured to use Intronic side. Since B2B is our main business, I will also use B2B as a channel, and I will replace the wishlist with order template, and I will do some big order. This is not right yet. Templates, no. And guest checkout is something we don't need. So this is I configure my brand theme in regards to the functionality or the feature set. I've done this, and then for a new brand, style CSS was created. This is the main file that includes all the other CSS. Right now, it's including our global standard CSS and has an own variables CSS here. And to see that we work with something new, I have a few. Let's see, a different color selected. We will take mint color here and add this here, so we see that it's our own brand and no longer the PWA standard orange. So, and with that, I guess I have configured the basics for this theme, and we can create a commit out of this. So let's see. So since I need commits for my later migration part. Let's see. We will add this. So this is probably for most projects what you have to do in the beginning to initialize the project's theme or the project configuration. If you have a project where you need more than one theme, I will show you how to add another one. It's again a node, schematics, customization, add, and then I don't do it as default, but just another brand, and add this as the second brand here. And so the script will start and generate again. It will take a while.
You're committing in the background.
Yeah, I hope they don't get messed up. In the background, the committing takes a while because there are still some lint rules and formatting rules and tests that will be checked. So I hope they go through and yeah, don't interfere with me already adding new stuff. It seems to have worked. So you can see this here in our Git graph. You see there is our first commit, and here are the changes from the second run of the script. So, so what was added again is a new environment here. Well, no, this did not work well. Of course, let's check. It was not a good idea. I was too fast. Let's see it here. Here you see already that the additional another theme here was added to this schematic here, and I guess it's not that it's not there. It's just already in a different commit, so we can go on. But also here in the AngularJS, you see that there is an additional another brand here. So I would have shown this in a separate commit, but now you see it in this way, and also in the package.json you see that another theme is here. One thing I would also we can change it here. Oh, not here. One thing we should change is we should change the order here. Of course, it's always good if the default theme is the first, since we have already seen that it leads to unexpected behavior if this on the server, if it's not this way around. There's also a fix in a later version where this is automatically done, that it's not default themes are added to the end. And the same could be done for this schema JSON of the override here, where we saw this enum. If brand is your default, it's probably always better to have it in the beginning and have the other one in the end. So yeah. So, and what we have now, we have another environment TS with a different configuration here. We have the styles again, we have the variables. Let's take a different color here. And add it here. As I have not committed, it works. The diff before was already from the repo. So this is now the second theme, and now I will start this one and show you that how this can be done, how you can start the different themes. It is a bit different than we had before, but now you need to do like configuration -c equals works also as a short version of this, and another, and then development for my development configuration. And this should start the second theme. And it will probably take a while. So, and close everything. And you see the uncommitted changes. I will not do a commit during this the starting of the server, and we can see if this results in our expected version. It should be the same as before, just instead of orange, it should be a blue buttons, blue text and stuff like this. And during the start of the development server, you can see how the different things are started, and you also see which brand is used here, the environment, another TS. And later on, this is also the place where you see how brand-specific overrides are used. We will get to this. Any questions so far as we wait for the build to do its job?
Sure.
Okay, so
you can write into the chat your questions, or you unmute yourself. Like if the questions are in the chat, I will read them out.
yeah, I guess with this, I will show you the result, but with this we are through the first part where how the project is initialized. Yeah, the second part will then be the customization. So maybe we can go back to this presentation and do a quick wrap up. So I showed you how to initialize the repo. I showed you how to initialize a default theme, and I showed how to initialize a second or third or how many themes, however you need for this project, and then how to selectively start one or the other. I can do another and serve. And you serve in this way. I will just add another port so that we can have them both running next to each other. In this way, it will start the default brand and in the development configuration. And so you don't need to add the configuration as before if you want this. Oh, now it's running. So let's see. This should be the 4200, and you can see it here. It's blue, but you can make it a bit more obvious. If you switch to a product detail page, you see the dark blue theme here. This is all that is that's currently changed, only the color. So I also start this here, and I will commit this. Oh, everything is staged. And I will commit this. And yeah, this is the initialization part. So let's get to customization. For the customization, we have different approaches. In the beginning, we had also a schematic for this. It's already there, still there, but it created where we advised or suggested that the best way would be to completely copy components that you want to customize and replace the usage of the original Intershop components with the new selectors of your custom components. This was changed. This idea with the now not with the PWA 1.0, but before, but with PWA 1.0, more artifacts could be replaced with this new override approach, where you can decide what you actually need to be replaced. Like you don't have to copy the whole component. If you just want to do HTML content changes, you also only have to override the HTML part. If you need to do changes to the TypeScript, you can only replace the TypeScript. And if you need to do component styles, you can replace the component style or all things together. So we will do, as a first example, I will do a simple override for another theme. How this works is I do use ng generate and then override. This is project specific schematic. I'm going to a component that I know that was changed during the 1.1 release. And this is the product detail info accordion. So I have to navigate there. Info accordion. So, and I'm using this one to show you that even though I change functionality or styling in this or appearance of this component, it will not result in any migration or merge conflicts later on. So here, this is now the schematic. It asks me for which theme I want to do the override. Here you see this the order that I changed: brand first, another second. I will start with another. I don't want the TS file to be overwritten. I only want the template. I don't want the style. So all it does, it generates one product detail info accordion component dot another dot HTML. And I can go there and look at this. It's just this override. It's not what I actually wanted. I want it to do the same as before, but I want to change that would result in a merge conflict. So I do a div style, not to be done in the project, but just for to show how it works. And by adding this div around and saving this and the auto formatting, all the lines in this file will be changed. I will have a visual clue that there is something different, and I would get a merge conflict if I do this in the original file. But this is now the overridden file, so this should not be the problem. You see in the, let me see here, this was the build where I started the development server for the another theme, and you see that it didn't start again because new files are not automatically watched, and don't trigger the automatic rebuild. So I have to do this by hand as soon as I add new files here. So I'm starting this again, and when I'm doing this, you will see how this another HTML will be picked up during the build process. So let's see this, and I can do. Here you see this. It lists all the replacement it found for the currently used theme. So you see this here: the environment another, and the product detail info another HTML. I can do my commit here. Another theme. And I'll do this in the background. And once this is the build is finished, we can, as long as this build, we can check the other. Be to our default brand here, and here you see the change here. This is a B2B version, and we have such a mint theme here. So, and now I also have it here, so I don't need this tab. And here, oh, this is old. I will reload this and like this. This was an old version. So this is the mint theme, and here this, I guess, it should almost finished to trigger a reload and show you the adaptation done for this. So here you see, now I have this part highlighted with a yellow background, and I'm using my own HTML here, my custom HTML. So this is a very simple example. So we do one that is more complex. This time I will ng override the home page for the brand theme. And this time I want to override everything. I want a TS file, I want a template, I want a style file. What did I do wrong? I didn't do it right here. So I need to name this file right and not just add TS. So we'll try again. So this time it's doing it. Yeah? Creates me a homepage component brand HTML, homepage component SCSS. I will get to this. A homepage brand SCSS and a homepage component brand TS. And then it will update the homepage component TS. The reason for this, you can see if we go in here and make this nice. We usually don't use component styles in our PWA so far. And so almost all our components don't have this style URL with a reference to a component style file. But if you want to override this, then you need this reference that can be overwritten. And therefore, this reference is added to the standard homepage component TS. It is created here, this file, this homepage component SCSS, just an empty file, so it will not do anything. And then the brand SCSS file will actually be used in the overwritten component. Here, I guess in this case, it would not have mattered this much because it's important that this here also has a style URL since we override it. But if you would have overwritten a component without overriding the TS file, you would not. But you want to override the component style. This would not work otherwise. So this is important that we add this empty SCSS here and changes in the component TS here. So yeah, now I need to do some changes so that the homepage component is doing things differently. I'm adding the component style. Oh, not here. This. So, and the nice thing in component styles, since they are if they are for a specific brand, I can use imports of other. Check. Of other SCSS files, and I can use the variables that belong to this this brand theme within this component styles in this way. So I'm going all the way up to the styles folder. I'm going to the themes brand, and I'm importing the variables here. And this way, I can use all the variables that are set in here. For example, I go there. What I'm interested in is this corporate primary variable. So I'm taking this, and I'm saying for the whole component, this is the definition here. I'm adding this style, and I want display. And I want color corporate primary, and this should then work with the imported variables, and generate a mint background, I would say. In the component itself, this is this NTS. I want that it's behaving differently than the standard homepage, only for the brand, not for the another theme. So I'm importing the messages facade, so I can trigger messages when I'm editing this. So I'm doing this. Calling this.
You let the injector produce you a message facade when the homepage component gets instantiated.
Yeah, I want as a visible clue that I'm using the different component file. I will trigger a message, a pop-up message when I'm coming on to this page. Yeah? So I need to implement the on init effect on init event, and I need to do this here. Here. And I want to do this message facade success. I want to do message that says you are on the this should be a working TS file change. And let me see what else I can do here for the HTML file. Here I need to at least copy the original version so that something is here at all. And I can add some additional headline. Page. Oh, this should be good enough to show you that we have a different page here. So, and since we created a lot of new code artifacts, the build process probably has not considered everything. So I will start this again and let the default brand be built again, and find the overloading artifacts and use those artifacts for the page. Here you see those, the homepage, HTML, SCSS, and TS was used, since all of those have additional theme or theme suffix. So yeah, this is a more complex overloading example. We can also do a commit here. And see if this works. So I'm still collecting commits for the migration part of this talk. And the application is building.
So those theme-specific or customization-specific artifacts are residing beside the original that you
exactly. Now they're always right at the place where they at the place that is the overwritten original artifact. The idea, I guess, one idea behind this is if you have changes to the original files, it's easier to just if they are still close, you could compare them like this, and you see where artifacts are yeah, the artifacts that override standard code are close to the original place. And if you see in our changelog or so that some HTML was changed, you can go there and look if your change needs to be adapted to, or your overriding file needs to be adapted to. So here this version is started. It's the wrong one. You need to see this one. So we are still on the product detail page, but we only changed the home page. So if I go there, you see this is a message that pops up. Here's my H1, and here's the mint background for this. Yeah. So this works on all the different levels. So also commits were done. So we can get to another way of customizing the PWA. I showed you the override functionality, but there's still the normal way of creating custom components. Yeah, like I'm for the footer component, I don't want to override the one that's there because I'm not interested in the functionality that the default footer provides. My footer will be completely different, and therefore I don't need to override this one, the one I'm creating my own. Or this is always the thing you need to decide. Will I only be changing a bit on an existing component and reuse this, or is it something new or very specific to my project that is not an override to an existing functionality? Maybe the footer example is not the best one, but it's good enough to show you how you can generate a custom component. Yeah? For this, we have the ng generate component C and schematic, and I'm creating the custom footer component next to the original one, even though I'm not actually overriding it, not just for yeah, since I'm this will not work. I have to type it myself since it's a new component. And yeah, I will generate this custom footer component. And here you see it just generates the normal HTML, the test, the spec file, and the TypeScript file. No component styles, since we don't use this by default, and it will add this custom. I need to show it here. It will add this custom footer component to the shell module. I will move this around a bit since I want it to work as a footer component that was initialized here. So I added also to the same place as the original footer component. So this is the footer component. I don't know how this time I need to do this. I don't want this custom footer works. I want something else. I want that CMS content to be shown here. So I use the ISH lazy content include component. We do have the IS content include component. This can be used everywhere where the shared module is loaded, but the footer component is part of the shell module, and there the shared components are not used. So I have to use the lazy content include that is exactly for being used outside of areas of the PWA that don't have the shared CMS component. I want include ID, and for this we have a few include IDs in our standard configuration where we can just add content and use them. I use the include general 10 2, so I will just and I'm expecting that this content would be rendered if this component is used, but right now this component is not used yet, the custom footer. I need to change this in the app component HTML. Here we use the ISH footer, and now I want to use the custom footer here. And my custom footer does not have a device type input, so I don't need this anymore. And this is something, yeah, there's no clear advice if this is the right way to change it in the original artifact, or if it would be better to do an app component.brand HTML overload to only and change this here, because right now this is only one line. It's you see that custom footer is used instead of ISH footer, and so if you get to a merge conflict later on during some migration adaptations, it's pretty obvious to see that this was just replaced one component with another one. Yeah, so I guess it should be very easy to solve this merge conflict here. So I'm doing it at this place, and if I'm doing it here, I'm also getting this change for all my brands right now, and not only one specific brand. So, and now let's see if this is already working. I replaced this. Oh yeah, here you see already the custom footer is used, and I have a different disclaimer and not our standard ISH footer anymore. So this is how custom components basically work. Yeah, just like any other component. The one thing maybe I could also point out, if I'm opening the custom footer component TS, you see that the selector now says custom footer instead of ISH minus custom footer or so, because this is a new prefix for any components that are generated now with the new configuration, brand configuration. So I will also commit all of this. And since I know that this will result in a test conflict, I'm doing it here on the command line git commit. This is just to save some time and not adapt the test here in the project. This should be done with a fixed test. Yeah? So now I have a few commits here during my project development. I need a few more commits to provoke migration or merge conflicts. So one thing I know is that we changed HTML code at the main navigation. So I will just go to the shell header navigation HTML here, and just add a div again that will lead to changes to the whole file, and in the mentioned merge conflicts. I still have my color here, here, and this change. I can also do another commit here. I'm also doing it this way because now I changed the HTML, and it will definitely result in a test problem with the rendered HTML. So, and yeah, I can do another problematic change. I know that we changed the script here, and if I will if I delete the script and commit this change, I have another merge conflict provoking commit.
There was one question.
Ah.
So I can read it out for you.
Yeah.
I already answered, but I want to read it out again. So Thomas is asking, we are not limited to use custom, right? Question mark. We can have any other prefix we like.
Yes, that's right. So you can the script that is initializing the your project is setting custom as a prefix in the Angular JSON here, and there's also no way to configure this right now. Yeah, it doesn't matter what your brand is called or so. The prefix for the project is custom, and it's not and it's also not brand or theme specific things. You can only have one prefix here, but you can set it in any way you want manually. Yeah, this is just what the script does. If I have a project with only one brand and want to also see this in my custom components, then you can just do here brand, and everything will be brand, footer, and stuff like this. It doesn't. It will work too. Yeah? You just can, but you cannot, at least not with a generation of the code. You cannot have like components where you have brand, my component, and then another my component. This will not automatically work. Then you would need to do it by hand and do some other adaptations. Yeah, but with one prefix, you can just change it here. So, yeah, now I have the commits that will result in problems, and I'm almost through with my customization adaptations. One thing I wanted to show is right now we have only changed or with the override schematic, we can override the HTML components, we can override services and any other TS files. We can also create for the styling, for example. This is what I want to come to. We have our global styles, components for global stuff and things like this. And then we have the themes folder where we have the specifics for our blue and default brand. And in this matter, also the another and the brand is created. Like we have the variables, this I showed you, and then we have the styles as CSS. And what they basically do in the default configuration, they include the whole global styling of this project. So this is probably not what you need in your custom project, that you have only the one set here. And if you would start and change things in the, let's say, in the button SCSS, you will definitely get merge conflicts if we do changes to the stylings, because those are the same artifacts that we use for our brand, for our themes. So you need to also come up with a way to customize this that is not interfering with the changes we do. And therefore, you could go ahead and create this component and call it button brand.scss. And you would also see in the build process that this file is used, but it will not be used for actually generating the CSS file that are used in the end, because here you have your brand style as CSS. It goes to the main, and this will still include this global button and not global button.brand. So the override mechanism does not work for such global SCSS. So you will need to come up with a different way. One way could be to, one way is, I guess, to just copy the main SCSS here and put it instead of this. That's what I would probably do. Now you can you can change them here, and now you can either do like no, not like this. Change all the imports. So that they will use the global styling and then just replace the ones that you wanted to change with some locally situated files, or with this button.brand or stuff like this. Or you can just go ahead and leave it like this, and then go to the go here to this folder and take the component styles, the global, the pages, and the breakpoint. Copy those and paste them in here. And now you would have, if I go to global button from here, it should have, let's see, I'm here, styles. No, it's not doing this. I would have expected it to open this file here. I'm not certain why this is not working right now. Maybe I did something wrong. No, looks good. Okay, I don't know why it didn't work. Let's see. Try this again. Now it works. Yeah. So now I have a copy of our global styles in my brand, and I can change anything in here, and I will not get in trouble if I change it in the default SCSS files that will still be changed by us. So this could be one idea. If you have multiple brands and want to reuse or have common styles, then you need to come up with a different idea than instead of copying everything to each of the theme folders. But yeah, this is something you need to decide in a project. We don't have a clear advice there yet. Yeah. And so we want to use this style here and see that it's doing something else. Let's say the button should be lowercase. And I don't know if it's already doing this, and can have a look at our buttons here, and you see add to cart, yeah, it's now lowercase, and in the other it's still the reloading this, so I'm sure that it's still the capitalized letters. So this works, and it doesn't interfere with the other stylings. This would be an idea to do it for the styling. One thing I also wanted to show you is while the brand.something file override works almost everywhere, it's not working for the styles, and it's also not working for the standard index HTML. Yeah? If you want to have brand-specific index HTMLs, this will not work. This HTML is not a component template. It's a different type of HTML. And if you need to change anything here, you have the theme service that can be used to do changes according to the selected theme and use images from the theme specific assets folder, or set a color specific to the theme that is set in the environment or stuff like this. Yeah. So this will not work the way it does for all the component HTMLs.
Stefan, do you mind another question?
No.
So Daniel is asking, how is the support of older browsers such as PEEP, Internet Explorer?
Yeah, that has nothing to do with our customization and stuff like this, but this is Angular has dropped, I don't know with which version, dropped support for Internet Explorer, and so we don't bother with this anymore. But there is a .browser list file here with the configuration, and here you see what configuration we use, and there it says the files generated when this project is built should work with the latest Chrome version, the latest Firefox 2 2 last edge major versions and stuff like this, not with EE and this. If you want this differently, and then you in the project, you need to have a look at this browsers list RC and read the documentation there and change those configurations, and then other files will be generated that are compatible with IE 11 or IE whatever versions. This might work. If it doesn't, then you need to do more investigation. There you have the polyfills are a place where you can add additional imports that will give you functionality that other browsers natively provide and we might use. And you need to add them here so that it's also working with older browsers. For most parts, this should be possible, I would say, but we don't test this, we don't support this, and Angular is also not too keen to support this anymore. Yeah? But there are places where you can change your configuration and still get a working PWA, I would say. So, yeah, so far we have 4 changes. I will do a commit with the brand styles. And then we are through with the customization part, I would say. Yeah, we have done the brand-specific overload, we have done custom component, and we have talked about the styling customizations. So let's get to the migration part. Yeah, the first thing, let's see, we can have a look at our Git graph again. You see, I have my project development. It's probably not as much as a project would have at a place where it needs to think about migrating to a new PWA version, but we have a few things here. And we have started at the 1.0 version. So we have 2 later releases we can use to migrate. And this is very practical. So I can show you 2 different ways how I could migrate changes coming from the Intershop PWA repository. The first thing you should do when migrating is you should have a look at our release notes. So usually if there are any breaking changes, we will write them at the release notes. Here for the 1.1 release, there are none. You can maybe browse through the changes so you know what to expect or where problems might arise. But you can also wait for just do the migration and see if you get in trouble and need to look further than what the reasons are. And for the 1.0 release, we have breaking changes, but I can tell you that they will not be breaking changes that we get in trouble in the changes that I have done. It's more for Docker builds and stuff like this, but not the changes we have done with the customizations. And another place that is sometimes also referenced from the breaking changes is the migrations documentation, where we tell you if you know from version 1.0 to 1.1, this or that needs to be considered, or here from 1.1 to 1.2, those changes were introduced and might have the described effects and give you some hints what you need to do or where you can find more information. This is probably the first thing you should do. The second thing that you should do is you need to add if you have checked out the project and worked on the project, and then you are the one who should do the migration to a new Intershop version, you need to add a second remote to the Intershop Git repository. I have done this in the beginning. Yeah, I have done this the other way around. I have started with Intershop and then I had the project repository, but usually this will not be the way in the project. It's just a simple command, git remote add Intershop, then our Git repository. No, I don't have it anymore. So I need to go there again and copy the URL and say I want to add this a second remote. This project will tell me that I already have this remote, so I don't need to do it, but this is usually the first step for the Git tooling you have to do. Then you fetch the remote repository information and you see something like I see here, master Intershop with the current release. Yeah? You will probably see even more branches since you don't just fetch a single branch with this adding a remote and fetching everything, but here I have it in a nice way and I see only the branch that interests me. And right now I'm only interested in this release for the beginning. So I have all my my preconditions, and now I can go about and fetch the changes. What I actually want is I have the Intershop PWA up to this functionality, and I want all the functionality in those commits here, between the 1.0 and 1.1. For this, I create a new branch and call this branch migration to 1.1.0. You can call it whatever you want. And then the actually Git Git command that does a migration fetches me the changes is git cherry pick. I want to pick all the commits, and I don't just want to pick one commit. I want to pick all commits from from the 1.0.0 commit to the 1.1.0 commit. So this is this commit here, this tag, and this tag. This is the end, and this is the beginning of the tag. And the notation is like this: the end is part of the commits that I fetch. So I will get this commit 2, and the starting number here is a commit that will not be used. So the commit after this one here, it's the first one that I get. And this is also what I want. This one I have already, or I don't need the merge commits. So this is, I guess, all that we need to know. And I can just start it and hope that it's doing what I'm expecting. Here now you see that it's going through the different commits and applies them to my project. And as long as I have not done any change that results in merge conflicts, they are all applied one after another. And the reason why I'm doing this as separate cherry picks is because if I get a merge conflict, I have the commit as the context where I can solve it and not the whole changes of the latest release. So now I have a Git problem here with some other project being here. This is not what I wanted. So I'm doing this again. I just abort this and I'm back to where I started. Maybe I should not look too much, and I'm doing it again. So you can try this several times and see if it's where you get problems or so, or if you can always abort this, or if you are through with this and you're not happy with the result, you can remove your branch and start over again if there are problems you don't know what they are. So yeah, but here usually this runs through and you just get asked when there are merge conflicts.
Branch is my working branch you created on which what was the base, the foundation for this?
Okay, you probably don't.
Set the development.
So here I'm now at a conflict. That was not, you don't see it anymore, but this is where I started. Yeah, the development was my base. I just created a new branch on the development branch, and now you see from this development starting point, I have all the commits for the new Intershop release up to the commit that now has a merge conflict. I see here conflict in the file header navigation component. Yeah, we know I did this to get this problem, so it's not unexpected. And it tells us what commit was this here. Fix main navigation, max subcategory step configuration. So I could now go to the GitHub and have a look at this commit and see what was changed there, and do I need this or do I not need this? For me, it's not so hard to decide this because I know I just put diffs around and I can add this to the new changes. So what I have here, I have my Git tooling. I have the Git merge tool. This is configured right. It will open up your merge tool of choice. In my case, it should open. Yeah, it should open in the Visual Studio Code. And then I see here I have my changes. These are green, and then I have the incoming changes. They are blue here, and I need to decide which ones to take. For me, it's now easy. I accept the incoming change, and I will add what I had before.
We also compare the changes. So those changes were just 2 blocks.
Yeah.
It's hard to read them. You can also the incoming and the current change, but you can compare them.
Yeah, there are better ways to. This is now there was everything different because all the lines are changed. So in this case, it's not the best tool. I usually also use a different tool where I have a 3-way merge where I see the standard what I have in my project, what's incoming, and I see better what the differences are and can merge it there. But this is a personal style, what merge tool you will use, and maybe a topic of a different meetup to show what different tools one would have for Git and for this project and whatever. Yeah, but since I only have easy merge conflicts for this talk, I can do it like this. Again. Oh, and if I now have a look at the changes here, I see that. No, wait, I need to finish this first. Once I close this file, the merge tool will notice that I have done that resolve the conflict and add this to my stage changes. I have here an original file that I don't need anymore, so I will delete this. And if you have a look at the HTML file now, you see what was actually changed. Yeah, I have my changes back, and this was the change here in the original, that this template is no longer used and that I'm using some additional conditions here and here, and here the template is not anymore used. So you now see the actual changes. So, and with the cherry pick, this one tells me what I need to do. Once I resolved my conflicts, I need to add this and I need to commit it myself. So I do git commit. I can use the original message here so I know what commit was, and I guess it does not need to check anything. So to save us some time, and though this one is committed, I'm still in the process of cherry picking here. So all I can do now is git cherry pick continue, and it should continue with the commits that come after the one with the merge conflict. And here you see again, there's something with quick order and other commits, cost center, and they will all be applied without any merge conflict. And also, also the commit where we had product changes to this product detail accordion did not result in any merge conflict, since I only did my changes at the overwritten file. So here I have an error at the end. Commit. This number is a merge, but no M option was given. This is just this commit here at the end, and this is, I don't need this. There's nothing in this commit anymore, so this would have been dropped anyway. So it doesn't matter this to get this error. I still see the cherry pick is not over yet, so I just do cherry pick continue again, and I'm done with the cherry pick. And if you have a look at this branch here, this migration to 1.1 branch, you see that there are all the commits in here and on top of the current development branch, so they should work with my project stand. Before I can push them and merge them, I would now need to go about and start my server again, do an npm install before. I guess those things here, oh no, they are already compiling. They might result in errors if I have introduced new dependencies or done an Angular update. And so all of this I still need to do and check that the project is still compiling and running. And if not, then I need to do some adaptations and add additional commits to this branch, and then I can merge it. Yeah? So in this case here now, they seem fine. So I could just merge them. I go to develop, and I can merge them on the command line now. In the project, you would just push the branch and do a pull request and do the usual stuff here. So, and once this is done, you see a nice Git log here where our development branch is now in a place where the Intershop PWA 1.1 is applied to the project and working. And I had my merge configs within the commit context and could resolve them pretty easily, I would say. So this is the one way. The other way, I'm just at 1.1 and I still have to go to 1.2 to be on the actual current release. So another way to do this would be to use, instead of cherry picking, to use rebasing. And for this, I'm also checking out a new branch. Check out branch migration 0. And this time I'm not checking out my development branch here, but I'm checking out this 1.2.0 tag. Also this at this place I will see. So this.
Monitoring your branch on this tag.
So now you see here my branch is here. So I'm no longer have the project functionality in my branch here. Yeah, if I would build this the PWA right now, maybe I should already stop those here. They have no chance this way to build anything. If I would build the PWA right now, I would get a standard PWA, Intershop PWA. There's no project specifics anymore in here. I'm now on an Intershop repository state. Yeah. But what I want to do is I want to take this branch with all those commits that I'm interested in, and I want to cut it off here at this place and put it on top of this development branch. This is basically what I want to do. And this is something that Git allows me to do with the Git rebase-onto with command. I tell it where I want to add my stuff. It's the develop branch. And I need to tell it where to cut it off. And I'm just using this commit here. So I can use this tag like this. Yeah, that's right. Development. Once done wrong, and all the examples don't work anymore. Yeah, development. This is where I want to add this on top. And what this command does is similar to the cherry picking. It will apply each single commit on top of the develop branch and get the merge conflicts in the individual commits. And I'm using the tag here, but if this is for some reason not possible, or if this for some reason doesn't work or so, you can always use those chars of the Git commits. Also with a cherry pick, you could have also used the numbers here, the char numbers. Yeah, but with the tags it works too. And so I will start this and see, and here it looks a bit different. It just tells you the number where it is, and it's all ready. And again, it has a Git process running in the background. I don't know exactly what the problem is here, but it's the same solution, Git rebase board. So we get a clean state again, and maybe I need to, I don't know what disturbs it. I just do it again.
Maybe do Windows restart.
Yeah, next time. It's probably something that will not happen on Linux, but also on Windows it sometimes works. And so you can hope for the best that it will count up to 34 with no problems. But yeah, as I did before, I added a change that will result in problems. This time I have the problem with the commit fit upgrade PWA script print version handling. Yeah, this was the script that I deleted. So I do again git merge tool to the rescue, and it will tell me what to do. This time it doesn't present me the differences. It just tells me that the one file locally it was deleted and remote it was modified. And so I say, okay, if they modified it, I will use it again and use the modified version, and then I'm done with resolving the merge conflict. Here's that original file again. I can remove this, and all I have is a script again. And this time I don't need to do a commit myself. I just do git rebase continue, and it will create the commit itself and ask me for the message. I could change it, but I could also just use it again, and then it will continue. So maybe this is a bit more convenient than the cherry picking in this place, but this is, I don't know. Yeah.
Essence of rebase is
Yeah. So, and now I get another conflict. So I'm just doing the merge tool again. Something with schema JSON. Yeah, and we know we have changed schema JSON. So what is the problem? Here it's a bit better to read, not so many changes. We have the brand and another in our enumeration, and now we have default blue and all. And here I see the naming of the commit add virtual theme all for always overriding files. This is a nice thing to get here, and also a nice place that it comes up. So I can talk about this shortly. Danilo also introduced a new virtual theme for the theme handling. This means you can, in the past, you could override all the files with the brand specific suffix, like the brand HTML, brand TS, or brand SCSS. And there was also already in place some handling for multiple themes. So you could have overwritten it in the way that you say homepage.component brand.another.html, and it would have worked for the brand theme and the another theme. Yeah. And so if you have 5 themes, you could add the whole list of themes to this file name and overwrite all of them, or overwrite only 3 of them or so. But if you really have more than 2 themes, I would say, it's sometimes better to just have the all theme to say, this is an override where I don't want to use the Intershop standard anymore, but all my themes use our common base. And so you can write homepage.component.all HTML and be done with it. Yeah? And this was introduced. And since this changes a place that we also changed, we get a merge conflict. I will accept I will change it here like this and add all. And then I can accept my current change. So, and I can close it here. Let's see, where is it? My JSON. And then, another conflict comes up. And here I see also the TypeScript configuration was affected by this. So I will accept both changes in this place, since I see that the regular expression has changed and I don't want to mess with this. I just want to take my change part and add it here and have the all thing here. And so this should work with the 4 themes here. So I'm holding this. And then I'm through with this merge conflict, and I do rebase continue. I get the commit message again, and then it will take off again and hopefully go through till 34. Yeah, and it says we successfully rebased and updated this branch. And if I have a look at this now, you see I'm here at my develop branch, and on top of this are all the changes of the 1.2.0 PWA release. And now again, I have to check that it still works. NPM install would be a good idea since we did an Angular update and everything said like this. Yeah. So this is something I'm not doing right now. I assume that it's fine, and then I can could merge it again, go to the, or you do the pull request, or push it and do the pull request. So we can, I'm just doing the npm install in the background, and we are through with the migration examples. You can still use the way of migrating all the changes of between the 1.0 and 1.1 release in this one merge command. But then you probably have a harder time to resolve the merge conflicts if you don't have the specific context the changes were done or so. So this would not be my way of doing it, but if you're fine with this, or if you like other ways of the Git tooling, you're free to do this. Those are the 2 ways I would use. Yeah. Yeah, we are almost through, I would say. So we are done with the migration. We have seen what to do for migration, reading, adding the secondary mode, the 2 different ways of cherry picking these commits and rebasing the commits. And so we can go to the additional hints that I would always try to follow in a project with a Intershop PWA. And this time I have no examples. It's just some things we have seen in projects. We have a lot of formatting rules in our project in place. They need to be configured in the IDEs that you use. For Visual Studio Code, those configurations are part of the project and should work out of the box. Yeah? If you start the project and have a clean Visual Studio Code, you get the question, do you want to install the recommended extensions? You just say yes, and then everything works with prettier formatting and other things. So, and the reasons why we have them in place is it makes it much easier to review changes if not every developer has its own idea of how spaces should be used or parentheses should be done or so. So this is all taken care by Prettier and some rules there. And so you don't, and if you have it configured right in your IDE, you will see this if you save the file, things switch around, and you should leave them this way if for the most parts, and then you should only see the actual code changes and not some formatting preferences by different developers. And it's probably a good idea to try to keep this intact and during the project. The same is with linting rules. There are quite a lot in our project, and they might be annoying. And if you have lint rules that are actually annoying and you don't want to follow them, then it would be the best to disable those configurations in your project and not just ignoring them. So that you always have, if you do npm run lint or npm run format, that it's all running through without errors or warnings and works. So only this way you can also integrate your project in a CI environment where you have actually checks that tell you that everything is fine. Yeah, and the same is unit tests. There are a few in our project already, and we will encourage you to write new ones for your code. But the important thing is to always keep them running, yeah, so that you actually see if you start letting them saying I don't care, I don't want to invest the time keeping them running. If I did some customizations in my code, then it's then you also don't see if some things break during the migration or doing some feature development. So it's better to just do at least the minimum of adapting the code, the tests, and have them always be green and run. For the end-to-end tests, it might be a bit harder. I don't know. You need to look there, but so at least the unit test should work. And for your local environments, if you don't have a CI pipelines that tell you in your repository that everything is fine in your pull request, you have the npm run check command that should always run through if you're done with the development that tests all those things, the formatting, the linting, the tests, and makes sure everything is fine. And if after this run, no changes are in your project anymore and no warnings or errors, then you should be fine for the most parts. And I guess this should be something that you need to keep in mind during the development of the project. Yeah. So we don't force anybody to use all our lint rules. What I actually wanted to show you is, maybe I can do, here you see now on the product detail page that there is the Documents tab for the attachments. And here, I don't know if one sees this, there is a styling glitch, I would say. You see, there's no room between this download link and this. This is not the way we designed this, yeah, or restyled this. But this is just to show you that you are now using your own CSS styles in this way. And if you remember that we copied everything from, let's show you this again, from our styles, global, and whatever, everything was copied in our theme brand folder. And now for the product attachments, we did changes at the CSS, but but the brand theme no longer uses our global CSS, and so those changes don't come to the brand style, and this is something one needs to be aware. Yeah, that's those if you overwrite or copy things and do your changes there, that's a nice way to do it and a nice way to avoid merge conflicts. But then you also don't get changes to the file that you have overwritten automatically. There's probably no way to do this. So you just need to be aware of this. And so for any migration tasks, not only applying all those different commits is necessary, but probably also having a deeper look at the actual changes. And for this,
there's always a trade-off at the end.
Yeah, yeah. But I can show you there are also tools that help you with this. For example, in GitHub, you can then compare different commits. I guess this is a commit for 1.0 and this is a commit for 1.1, if I selected this right. And with this view, with the compare view, you can have a look at all the files that were changed during those commits that lie between those select commits here. And so you can use tools like this, for example, and go here all the way down. TSLint is not what I'm interested in. This is something changed here, some lint rule, but not in Webpack. But here now I'm coming closer to the SCSS files. And here you see there is a change to the product attachment styling that is happening in the original files, but is probably not in your files. And then you need to decide, have I changed something there, or can I just add it to my files? Or here the line item SCSS quick order line order here. This is probably the one that is missing the download link styling here. So, and then you need to decide that you have to add this to your project style, and this should also be doable if you have such a comparison. So far, this would be all that I would talk about. Thank you for listening, and now I'm open for any further questions.